As I end my postdoc and move into a new faculty position, I have really taken the time to reflect on my journey. What I'm going to do in this video is to answer some questions about the choices and the mistakes I've made along the way, and I hope that these can help you shape your own journey. Very excited and grateful to share that I have accepted a position, an assistant professor position at the University of Alabama, Birmingham, UAB, and I'm precisely going to be in the School of Medicine, specifically in the Department of Pediatrics. And within the Department of Pediatrics, there are different divisions depending on your specialty. So I'm specifically going to be in the division of gastroenterology, hepatology, and nutrition. So it's been a big blessing. I'm grateful for the opportunity, and I can't wait to get started. This position will really give me the opportunity to do research at the highest level. So we are going to do a lot of patient-centered research as regards inflammatory bowel disease. And I'm going to be recruiting at all levels. So if you are interested in a postdoc, PhD positions, or even staff scientists, please, I welcome you to visit my lab's web page. It's a new web page that I developed. So please visit that. It's jideojolab.com, and you'll find more information about what we do specifically and how you can be part of my team. Yeah, it's been about 10, 11 years since I started my master's at Oklahoma State. But before then, I studied biochemistry at Ekiti State University in Nigeria. And after that, I got into the nutritional science field to really study how the gut microbiome impacts or shapes outcomes in high-fat-induced obesity. So I did a lot of studies during this time that relates to the impact of diets on intestinal biology. So that's really how I got into, knowing about intestinal diseases. So for my postdoc, I really wanted to learn more about intestinal diseases. So I intentionally looked for positions in hospitals or medical centers. So I was lucky to get my first position at Cincinnati Children's Hospital in the Department of Pediatrics as well, pediatric gastroenterology. So after that, I went to Stanford. I got the opportunity to go to Stanford and continue studying inflammatory bowel disease. So there are two types of inflammatory bowel diseases, Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis. And my postdoc really focuses on understanding how organoids, what we call 3D organoids, can be used to model the disease in humans, especially for children. So we do a lot of generating organoids from stem cells developed from biopsies that are obtained from these patients. And I really had a lot of fun doing this work. Some of my publications are still under review at this time, but it's been a lot of fun. And, that's really how I got into epithelial biology. So like the question stated, I have a diverse educational background. I never believed in the traditional notion of just sticking to one field. So I've always gone with my research interests. So from my journey, you can say I started with biochemistry, did nutritional sciences, and now I'm also in the epithelial biology research area. However, a lot of the things I learned was in biochemistry and also in nutritional sciences would come into play as I start my own group at UAB. So nothing is a waste. So it's really about your research interests. And I think I often preach that on this channel. So just go with your research interest and make sure you are really good at what you are studying so that you can get opportunities to do, a lot of fun stuff at the highest level. So I've been really lucky, and I've had a lot of good mentors that have, shown me the path in this field. Well, like I said earlier, I was really inspired by my research interests. I remember when I studied biochemistry in undergrad, towards the period of graduation, I started to read about, how the gut microbiome could contribute to the development of obesity and obesity-related diseases. So I was really fascinated by that concept, and I decided to look for graduate school opportunities in that area. So that's how I got from biochemistry to nutritional science during my master's and PhD. So I did this for 6 years in grad school. And like I said as well earlier, I was interested. I got to know about intestinal diseases, especially IBD that I'm studying right now in grad school. So I thought IBD seemed to be a growing field, and seems to me at the time, and even right now, that we don't have any treatment, right, for this disease, and it's increasing disproportionately in children. So seems there will be a lot of opportunities to study and do a lot of good things in this area, and especially as we know that there is a significant contribution of environmental exposures. So, and that could include diet. So that's how I started thinking about, oh, this would be a good thing to learn and develop an idea in this area. So that's how I got into the gastroenterology or epithelial biology field. So it's really about your research interests. And if you are watching this and you are thinking how you can set yourself up, I think when you are trying to set yourself up based on your research interest, I think one of the most important things you need to consider is to ensure that the field you are entering is relatively new, or the tool you are trying to use is relatively new, so that you can use these new tools or ideas to study existing questions or some of the old questions. So you can use new tools to revisit old questions. So you have to apply a certain level of wisdom to ensure that you are getting into fields that are not getting stale. Or even with the advent of AI right now, you have to ensure that in the next couple of years, AI would not be capable of taking away your skill or your job. So we all need to apply wisdom in that sense. So my inspiration behind changing fields multiple times, it just was really based on my research interests. Now, I'm not saying this is ideal for everybody, but if you are going to do the same thing all through undergrad and grad school and postdoc, make sure that even within the same broader field, for example, like chemistry, there are a lot of exciting and new tools that have been developed. For example, if you are doing organic chemistry, if you did organic chemistry throughout grad school, you might want to diversify a little bit if you have to do a postdoc, just to be able to learn something new. And at the end of the day, if you're interested in a faculty position, I bet you there will be like an interesting crosstalk between the two ideas or fields that you have developed expertise in, and you can use that to really stand out among your peers. So that's really how I was able to, shape my own journey. When it comes to faculty positions, it's I don't think I need to tell you that it's really hard. So you have to submit a lot of applications, and in my own case, I was a bit lucky. I didn't have to do a lot. I did 12 applications in total over a period of 2 years, and I did that few applications because I was interested in going to a certain part of the US. I wanted to go back to the South, leave California and go back to the South. And in the South, of course, if you have certain restrictions like that, there will be less opportunities for you depending on what's a good fit for you. So in over 2 years, I only submitted 12 applications, which I know for a lot of people they will count me, very lucky in that sense. Yeah, I submitted 12 applications, and before I even go further, for people that are not very familiar with the process, I want to explain how the process goes. So usually when you apply, if you are deemed a good fit by the faculty selecting committee, you'll be invited for a Zoom interview. And after the Zoom interview, they only have 1 or 2 positions. They would invite maybe the top 2 or top 3 candidates to come for an on-campus interview, which is the most rigorous part of the process. Now, after the on-campus interview, you would typically get an offer if you are the top candidate. Usually this first offer, most of the time, would be via phone call, and a written offer might follow. Then after that, you might negotiate certain terms in the offer, and during this time, you will be, for the most part, and this doesn't happen in all cases, but a lot of places will offer a second visit. And even if they don't offer a second visit, you should always ask a second visit if you need to visit a second time, especially for family reasons or to kind of know the environment outside campus. So, and typically there are more open calls for faculty positions in the early fall. And so for me, my first two applications were submitted in December 2022. So I applied for an NIH grant in October 2022. So I thought, let me just start applying for faculty positions. I really didn't think I was fully ready because I was still in the process of, I was in the middle of getting data for my postdoc project. But I saw these two open positions in December 2022 and I applied. Luckily, I was called for interview for both positions. And, I was very excited that, I'm not fully ready and I got to interview. So I did the Zoom interviews for both positions that I applied to. And I didn't move forward for one of the schools. It was one of the very good schools in the South. I don't want to mention names now, but yeah, I was invited for an on-campus interview. It went really well, good people. And, when I received the offer, it just wasn't, what I really wanted, wasn't what I envisioned myself, accepting. And, I couldn't really share this with a lot of people at the time. So this was in April 2023, because I understood that, a lot of my colleagues were still, struggling to get positions. And I got an offer with my first ever application, first ever on-campus interview. And, I'm considering to reject this offer. Really? Are you crazy? Some of my people told me that, but I knew what I wanted and I just didn't think it was it wasn't close to what I really wanted. So yeah, I rejected it. Believe me, it was tough to reject a faculty position, especially my first one in a good school, like I said, but the offer wasn't great. And I think some of the people that really know about the process were also as disappointed as I was when they learned of the kind of offer I was given. But I rejected it and I, shed a little tear when I rejected it. Like, it was very risky. Yeah, so that was April 2023 and I applied for 9 other positions in the fall of 2023, and only one of them called me for interview. So only one of them called me for the Zoom interview, and I scaled through the Zoom interview. I was invited for a campus interview, and yeah, I got the offer too, but it was even worse than the first offer that I rejected a year ago. So you can imagine the kind of anxiety I was going through at this time. I didn't regret rejecting the first one, but there will be a certain kind of regret trying to seep into your mind, into your head about rejecting the old position. So, but again, I rejected the second position, and shortly after that, actually during the time I was still deliberating on the second position, I got the opening for this present position I'm resuming at UAB, and everything moved fast, and I was lucky with the third position I applied to, which was at UAB at the time. So that's how it worked out for me. 12 applications in total. I received 4 Zoom interviews, 3 on-campus interviews, and 3 offers. Rejected 2 offers and accepted one. So that happened in a space of 2 years. Well, the position at UAB, it took about 5 months to complete the process. I got to know about the position around May, I think. And, Zoom interview was in June, and I went for the on-campus visit in July. I wasn't given an offer even after the on-campus visit. I was invited for a second visit with my wife in August. And, typically my idea of the whole process was, you will be given an offer before they would offer a second visit, because usually the second visit is really not an interview at that time. It's actually for them to give you an opportunity to see the city and make sure you like everything outside the campus itself, which may not have happened during the first visit. So, like I said, I went with my wife in August for a second visit. Then after that, I was made an official offer in early September, and I think we concluded all negotiations as well in September. So it didn't take that long to wrap everything up. So in total, it took about 5 months. Probably going to answer the latter part of the question. My best experience, of course, would be, my experience going to UAB. I've been to Alabama once, visit a friend at Auburn, but I've never been to the Birmingham area, and it was really fun visiting. I think it was my best experience because they really treated me like, like I'm really wanted, I'm really needed, the very executive treatment. And of course, I know they did the same for every other candidate. But it was just special, to know that people spend that kind of money to interview candidates. So it was a great experience. And I especially enjoyed the second visit with my wife. Yeah, it was really good to know that. Of course, I haven't received an official offer, but usually when they offer you second visits, they are strongly thinking of, offering you the job. If not, they wouldn't waste that money to fly you over again. So we went there, all expense paid, flights and hotel and transportation, everything arranged for. So it was a really good experience, and got to meet a lot of the good people there as well. So I really enjoyed it, and it didn't take long to convince me that it's going to be a good place for us. Outside of just my work, we felt really comfortable with the environment and the people that we met. So that was my best experience. My worst experience actually was in Alabama. So I applied for a school in Alabama, which I stressed a lot, for the interview. I remember during the on-campus interview, they invited me for on-campus interview, and I had to arrange my own transportation. Although they promised and they refunded me, but with my little experience, the other two positions that I interviewed for, they arranged everything. So I should have thought that stressing and arranging my own transportation and the main airport was like 1.5-hour drive away. So the main recommendation was for me to even take public transport, which would be hours of stress for someone who is coming to interview. And I was supposed to meet to arrive for dinner that same day. And I'm flying out from California to the 5-hour flight. After a 5-hour flight, you're supposed to take public transport. But for me, I didn't take the public transport. I just rented a car. And they eventually refunded me for that. So, but it was not just, it was my worst experience because of that alone, but the offer was egregious. It was crazy. I've never heard something like that before for someone you would fly out like that. I think I was offered $60K for startup. It didn't take very long before I rejected it. But yeah, it was very surprising. That was my worst experience. Now, that's a very good question. And this is where I would say, any grad student should be very careful. What I've done has been very risky. I'm glad it paid off, but it's very risky because all my plan, I just kind of put all my eggs in the academic position basket. Every experience I had, I shaped everything to fit with my goals to get a faculty position in academia, which is not exactly the greatest kind of plan that you can have as grad students. But I really didn't consider going for any non-academic position. However, I should mention that I think immediately I got to Stanford, the lab was new at the time, so we were still buying equipment, and it was really during COVID, not during COVID, after COVID, but there's still a lot of issues. There were a lot of issues with the supply chain. So we were ordering equipment, and equipment was taking so long to arrive. I was very frustrated with the whole slow process, and because I was, of course, a little bit less busy at the time. I remember I applied to one non-academic position at Abbott. I think it wasn't a great fit, but I just decided to put in an application. I wasn't invited for any kind of interview anyways, but yeah, I did attempt one non-academic position, but I wasn't granted an interview. So for grad students that might be thinking of academia, it's great, but my advice is, I think I will get to the point of giving advice, but really try to get 1 or 2 internships during your PhD so that you can be competitive for non-academic positions in industry. That's very important. But we'll talk more about that later. But yes, I attempted one non-academic position, and it was a total failure. There's a lot of things we can share, but let's see what we can get through. Let's see what we can get through during the short time we have for this video. First, I would say, start your job search early. How early? I would say, as soon as your first year in grad school, if you are still around that timeline. And I say that because, for me, like I said, I channeled all my energy to getting academic positions. My own mentality was, if I'm not doing this at the highest level, I'm not gonna do it at all. It has to be like an R1 university. And because of my interest in IBD research, the ideal environment would be like a medical school or hospital. And if that doesn't work, of course, there are a lot of R1 universities that are around medical schools, right? So that was my old goal. So I put everything in it, and I was able to do that because I got to know that this was a possibility very early in grad school. So I channeled all my energy to setting myself up, all my classes, the skills I had to get to be competitive for positions in this area. Of course, in grad school, I was thinking about postdocs, right? In the medical field. To get postdocs in medical field, you need to be doing certain things at the time. So I got to know of those things very early, and I channeled my journey in grad school to achieve a lot of these things. I might go into more detail in another video, but the most important thing is very early start looking at the kind of positions you want and look at the skills that they require. Okay, so you can go on Indeed or LinkedIn Jobs and just Google the kind of position you want. So either in academia or in industry. So when you look at the job responsibilities and the qualifications and skills section, you will see the kind of things they need. So you can start putting yourself in a position where you can acquire those skills in grad school. Or if you are in your postdoc, you can still do a lot of things while you're a postdoc. So that's what I did. And that's why I said you should start your job search early. So regardless of where you are right now, either in grad school or even before grad school, you should just Google the kind of job you want and see the kind of skills they need and start thinking of how you can, get those skills in grad school. The second tip I might share that might be useful, especially for those that are thinking of academia, would be to compete for grants during your PhD or postdoc. And this is very important for those seeking faculty positions or that will be seeking faculty positions in future. And of course, there are a lot of external grants, to the National Institutes of Health, the National Science Foundation, and believe it or not, there are a lot of opportunities I have come to learn with the Department of Defense, rather. I'm not sure if the DOE has trainee grants, but you can look that up as well. But I know the Department of Defense usually have some opportunities as well. So look that up, try to compete for these things. And in a lot of high quality postdoc environments as well, you see a lot of internal opportunities to compete for grants. So always try to put in for that. I was lucky that, for me, I tried for internal grants and external grants, and I lost some, I got some. So that really helps you if you are thinking of a faculty position. Now, my third tip will be to have a list of non-negotiables and those that are negotiable. This is very important when you start negotiating for, either salaries or startups or bonuses or whatever, depending on your job. So have a list of non-negotiables. And for faculty positions specifically, you should start putting together a spreadsheet of equipment and personnel and the costs of all these things, because this will be vital to develop your budget, a startup budget during negotiations. And, for industry positions, like I said, you should make sure that you try to do 1 or 2 internships in grad school. It's very rare that people get senior roles immediately after PhD without prior internship experience. That's been my, acquired experience from my friends that have left academia for industry. So please try to get some internship experience during the summer semester while in grad school. So that's very important. Let me think. The next thing, if I can think about it, would be, from my experience, the first position is not necessarily the best position. Now, of course, this might not be a good advice for everyone, especially for those that have looked for a long time and couldn't find an opportunity. But, like I said, my first position, it was in a relatively good school. Actually, if I tell you the name right now, you guys will be surprised that I rejected that kind of school without having any alternative. Of course, in hindsight right now, what I have right now, it's far better than what was offered at the time. So it was crazy that I rejected them, but let's me to know that, your first position isn't necessarily the best one. All you have to do is to make sure that you identify what you need out of that position. And if this position is not going to give you what you need, and if you are confident in yourself, yeah, it's okay to let it go. Of course, talk to mentors and see, if this is a good deal or not. And if some of them are telling you, yeah, you have the potential to get more, I think with your own belief in yourself, you should take that into consideration and look out for a better deal, either from this current offer or in future. So, like I said, I want to say, it depends on how long you've been looking for an opportunity. If you've been looking for so long and you get just this one opportunity, yeah, you might want to start there. But what I've noticed in academia is really difficult if you accept a position in a lower tier university, it's very difficult to move from there to, like a research intensive university, for example. So you should be very mindful of the first position that you accept, because that can determine the rest of your career. Now, another tip that I might want to share. Now, these are things that have worked for me. That's why I'm saying I might want to share, but these are things that have worked for me. And what have worked for me so far as regards mentorship is to have more than one mentor at each point in time. So it's important to have more than one mentor that can guide you. This is important because, sometimes mentors give advice based on their own experience as well, mostly from their own personal experience, especially if this is not like a very experienced mentor who have seen a lot of students come and go from their group. Their sample size is very limited. So if you have that diverse network of mentors, that kind of guides you to make better decisions for your career, not just for your scholarly or professional work, but even in life generally. So, for example, when I was confused with my first offer, my mentors were very, very open and, told me that this looks like a good offer, but really it's probably going to kill all your dreams of doing XYZ, because they knew what I wanted to do. So they were really clear about what will happen in the next 2-3 years if I don't quickly get a huge grant, because the startup I was offered wasn't really very supportive. So yeah, I took that to heart, and that helped me to think about what I really wanted. And in any case, where I've seen situations where my mentors had contrasting opinions as well. Of course, not all my mentors agreed that I should reject that offer. But when you have more than one person telling you that, and if your intuition is telling you that you should let it go, yeah, you should believe in yourself and let it go. That was what I did. Of course, like I said, it's very risky. So please, understand your own unique situation and see if it's something you'll be willing to bet on. But yeah, I took the risk, and for me, it paid off. So it's important to have more than one mentor. And if you have contrasting opinion from your mentors, probably suggest that, there isn't one way to skin the cat, right? In that case. So you might want to go with your instincts and your goals to make a final decision for every situation that you need advice on. So that's very important in my own experience. Again, another tip that I would share is to understand the kind of sacrifice you would have to make to achieve your goal and do everything possible to achieve it. Now, I know this sounds cliche, right? But it's very important I mention it because a lot of the times, some of these risky goals that we set for our careers would really need some sacrifices, right? Maybe I might go into details about, sacrifices we had to make, to get to where we are right now. But, you need to understand early enough. That's why I said initially that you should start searching for your future position early. So you understand every sacrifice and everything that you need to do in terms of the privileges you need to acquire. So you need to understand that very early. However, you must be flexible. Okay. Yeah, it worked out for me great that I didn't plan to be very flexible, but I could still go to a point, especially during the second year when I made 9 applications and I got only one bad offer. I started thinking of plan B, which I would maybe have been perfectly fine with. But I started thinking about plan B and have 2 alternate career prospects, even right from grad school. So it could have been beneficial for me to, maybe have industry internship experience and all that. But of course, it worked out for me, but for another person, it might not work out. That's why I'm advising, be flexible. Even though you've made every sacrifice and, you've gave up a lot of things for this goal, it is still possible. And I'm not just talking about faculty positions right now. So regardless of your sacrifice, it is still possible that you want to achieve that primary ambition. So be like water, be flexible, be able to move here and there, have a plan B and be fine with the fact that your primary goal might not come to fruition. Okay. And lastly, I think that if a postdoc is needed to be competitive in your field, my really strong opinion, I have a strong opinion on this. And my strong opinion is that if you're going to do a postdoc, please don't stay too long in your postdoc position. No. Please don't do that. Please. And this is especially important if you are not thinking of going into academia. And even if you are thinking of going into academia, in my own opinion, I think the minimum years for postdoc should be 2. So that gives you enough time to actually learn a new skill and master it. And I think the ideal time will be 3 years. Now, if you are hoping to get your own grant, maybe you can extend that to 4 years. That's if you were actually successful in getting your own grant. So you can do 4 years or 5. In my own case, I did a total of 5 years because I was lucky to get my own grant. But if not, having a plan of 3 years is like the maximum you should have. Now, if you have your own grant, then you can extend it maybe by a year or 2 so that you can take advantage of all the training plans that you have for the grant. Now, for industry positions, I think after, of course, you should be able to give your postdoc sponsor at least 2 years because kind of helps them on their project as well. But I think 3 is ideal if there is money to fund the position. But after 3 years, it's becoming a little too long. And this is true even for faculty selecting committees. Now, if you are staying too long in your postdoc, then it could mean a lot of things. Maybe you are not very productive, or except you are going to, maybe in year 4 or 5, you are going to publish a Nature or Science paper. Now, that can mean a lot for you when you are searching for a job. But if not, staying too long without, those kind of papers, without a grant, you would probably not be very competitive for faculty positions. I'm not saying it's impossible, but depending on your field, it might be harder to be competitive for positions like that. So plan accordingly, depending on your goals, so that you don't waste too much time doing a postdoc. So that is all I have for this video. I know it's a bit long, but it's been a long time I made a video on this channel. And hopefully I can be a little more consistent than I've been for the past 6 months, I think. And I think I took a break because, I had to work on applications, work on papers, and round up my postdoc. But right now that we are moving to a new phase of life, I hope I can be more consistent to, share tips that would help you continue to grow in your career. I'm Dr. Babajide Ojo. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.